On 10th December 1995, little baby Jethro entered our lives, and on 19th July 2015, aged 19 and a half, he left us, leaving behind a legacy not only just in our family, but a legacy that extended to the world as well. Today, as Jethro's older sister, I want to answer a question that has always been asked of me in the hopes of giving you a glimpse into life with a disabled family member if that were your circumstance, and if it weren't just a glimpse into a life filled with peace, joy, and vibrant living, no matter what our circumstances were. As the older sibling of a brother who could not walk or talk or do any basic human function on his own, I was often asked the question, how did you manage? My parents obviously had the most to do and adjust their lives to after the doctors diagnosed his two conditions, that is cerebral palsy and microcephaly, when he was 8 months old. But as a sibling, of course, my life changed too. For those who had a so-called normal life, it felt unimaginably difficult to live and take care of a brother who couldn't do much on his own and who was different from all of us. They saw our lives from the outside. They saw the difficulties probably in carrying him around, especially as he grew older, or feeding him each and every one of his meals, and they wondered how. That was the question on all of their minds. They just wondered how. For others who had a similar experience to ours, who had a differently able sibling in their family, the questions were more deep-seated than that. They often asked about the bond that we shared, whether I was jealous of him for getting more attention from my family, and how his life affected mine. One of my earliest memories of any kind of awkwardness or embarrassment to do with my brother was when I had to explain in school whether I had a sibling and who he was and what did he do, like was he studying and how old was he. And I remember at that time it was hard for me as a child who was shy and didn't like to be in the spotlight much. I think it was awkward for me to explain the whole thing because I had to take time in educating people about, okay, I couldn't just say I have a brother and he doesn't go to school, because people would ask why, and then I would say that he has cerebral palsy and microcephaly, and people would not know what that is, understandably. So I had to explain that, and then I had to explain that because of those conditions he couldn't walk or talk. And for me that was really awkward and hard because I was a child wanting to get through life, and that was one of the first instances when I knew that there was something different that others were not going through, and I had to explain my way through that. But despite all that extra effort that it took for me to explain my life and my brother's involvement in my life, I think over time it became second nature to me, and I had a ready explanation every time I met someone new that this is what I'm going to say about my sibling, because that question obviously would come up, and so I had a rehearsed thing that I would always say, and that was it. As I look back, I can see a lot of choices, intentional choices that all of us made, whether it was me or my parents or my brother, and those choices kind of paved the way for the life we built together, and those are the choices that I'm going to talk about today. The first thing was I made a choice. As a child who was 3 years older than my brother, I had to make a choice to accept him into my life. I had to make a choice to see that as normal, see that situation as normal, and not think of it as something out of the ordinary. Of course, I could have probably been asking the question, why me? But I don't think I have ever asked that question, and I think probably it was the way I was raised as well, and I have to give credit to my parents for never making me feel that it was abnormal. They made it feel that this is life, you accept it, and he's a part of our life, and that's it. As I mentioned before, over time I was able to introduce my brother to my friends, explain to them what his condition was, and then I even invited them home. I got them to meet him, And the way they saw it was they saw us interacting with him, even though it was difficult to communicate. So we had our unique form of communication with him that was not talking. And they saw it as a normal part of things. It was a very good way to create a normal, because the more you're exposed to something, it becomes normal for you. And so that's what I try to do with my friends and people around us. So that was a choice that I made, to accept the circumstance and to live with it and to make the most of it. And that has helped out a lot in the way our life has played out over these 19.5 years. So the second choice was made by my parents. Now my parents were warned by the doctors that me being the other sibling who wouldn't probably get as much attention as my brother would start feeling some kind of jealousy or anger or disdain for my brother over time, and I might rebel, and I might try to seek attention, or I might try to hurt him. And those were things that doctors warn about, and it's a normal thing, it's seen in many cases. But what my parents did was they made sure that I did not feel ignored. So obviously my parents had to pay more attention to him because he couldn't do much on his own. He couldn't do anything on his own. So they had to be with him from morning to night. But they never made me feel left out. So my mom, every day after I came back from school, she would sit with me and she would listen to my stories of my day. And my dad, when he was off work, he always took the time to spend that extra time with me individually and not only as a family. And so I developed my bond with my parents individually, and even when we were in group settings, they never let me feel left out. Like, all four of us were a unit, a family. And I think that was very helpful in me not developing any sense of resentment towards my brother. Another major choice that my parents made was not to bring my brother's disability as the focus of my life. So they could have constantly focused on that and constantly thought about that and constantly been trying to do something about that, or improving his life, trying to find a cure and just bringing that into the focus. But they never did that. They never let it become the sole focus of all of our lives, including their own. It was just a part of life, like it was just one small part of it. So from childhood, most of our attention was turned outward into society. So my dad worked full-time, my mom was working full-time, taking care of my brother, and later on helping my dad in business, and later on joining the business herself full-time. So all of them were working full-time, but they still always had time to think about the community. And from my childhood, from our childhood, that was our focus. I have attended countless meetings, countless seminars, countless discussions, so many conferences, so many events that were for the benefit of the community. And both of us were there. Me and my brother were always there. When I was a child, I used to be handing out flyers, and I used to be handing out any material to the people attending the conference. My brother was lying there next to my mom normally. So we were always involved in the community around us, and that was our focus. We were never limited by my brother's disability. We went everywhere. We went to people's houses, we traveled around, and we didn't let his disability stop us from being involved in things that were not limited to us. And that was one thing that I really appreciate that my parents did, because we could have been so stuck up in what was given to us, but we said, okay, this is given to us, but what can we give back? And that was our focus since childhood even till today, and it's just been growing and growing, and that's what me and my brother both inculcated into our lives. Now the last choice was my brother. He showed his love to me tremendously. So even if my parents had not shown love to me, which they did, but if they hadn't, his love for me would have taken away any kind of jealousy that I would have, because he loved selflessly. He always paid attention to me. He listened to me when we were choosing places to go. He would always take my choice into consideration. He would always watch the movies that I liked, which probably he didn't like. And so he always was considerate towards me. He loved me, and that in itself helped a lot in my developing that bond with him. It would have been very justifiable for him if he wanted things to go his way, whether it was to watch the movies he liked or go to places he liked, because there was a very limited amount of things that he could do as someone who couldn't walk or talk, and I had other things that I could do and I could enjoy. But he never made that choice. He never said that, okay, I already am disabled, so I need this. He never did that. And so that was a choice he made, and that made a lot of difference, I think, in the way we connected with each other. So as we grew older, we had a bond that not many siblings share at that age, probably, but we were very close. He was my best friend, he was my confidant. We did everything together. We spent a lot of time together when I was living at home, and so that was our connection. So that was what he was to me. He was just my little brother, and disability aside, that was it. There was nothing abnormal about our relationship. So I used to help him out when he needed help, if he needed to be carried around, if he needed to go out, I used to take him out for drives. So those were things that we normally did, and it was a normal part of our life. Yes, there were extra things that we had to take care of, especially my mother, because she was completely involved in his life. She had to make sure that he ate on time, and if we were going out, his food was packed and ready, because he could only eat softer food. So those are things that my mother had to do. I had to make sure that if I was around, I needed to carry him, and if he needed to be changed, I needed to change him. And it just became a normal part of our life, and it was something that we just grew into. It was never seen as a hindrance, never seen as a burden. And the second choice that he made was, again, as our parents did, he didn't focus on his disability. He didn't let that stop him. He had unique ways of communication, which, if you want to know more about, I will link the documentary on our family somewhere on the screen or down below, so that you can watch that. It's called The Power of Love and Commitment, and you'll know more about the way he communicates. So he had a unique way of communication, and he used that to compose poems, to put down his thoughts about the world, and those thoughts and those poems are still circulating all over the world today and are reaching out to people. It's stopped people from committing suicide. That was the power of his poetry, and that was the power of his thoughts. And that's what he did with his life. He didn't limit it because of the disability. So he made the choice to say that I'm alive for a reason, and I want to make sure that I am doing something with this life. And he did. And even after his death, that legacy continues. Even till today, what he has said and done is still contributing to lives. If you ever saw our family, you would never ever guess that there was something different about us, that there was something that was a difficult circumstance in our life. And only when you saw him would you think, okay, they have a disabled son. And then you would still see that we were still cheerful. And there's nothing different. That was just our normal, and we created our normal through these choices that we made. So my family's life never ever went the way the doctors predicted. Love flooded our lives, and self-pity for what was given to us, anger at having to deal with these circumstances, jealousy due to extra attention given to the differently able member, any kind of irritation at the extra effort that we had to take, never ever entered the four walls of our house. That was because of the choices that we made, the choices that all four of us made. These very choices that filled our family with vibrancy and fruitfulness are the very same choices that can transcend every situation and circumstance. This is something I truly believe in. The choice to accept, the choice to not complain, the choice to let go, the choice to love, the choice to be selfless, the choice to contribute to society, the choice to fulfill our destiny no matter what. I hope our story helped you in some way, giving you a glimpse into how we dealt with a very real, a very present situation, a very difficult situation, honestly, but how we dealt with it and how we came out the other side being happy, being fruitful, being joyful always, and always doing something for others. And that was what we learned through my brother's life. And even though his life ended at a young age, I think that he fulfilled his destiny in the 19 and a half years he was on this earth, and he's still fulfilling his destiny from wherever he is. So I hope that this is the message that you take with you today, that even 100% disabled boy could do something with his life, forgetting about his circumstance. I think we have nothing to complain about. Our problems are small, our problems are temporary, our problems are sometimes irrelevant, but we can always manage them by making sure that we make the choices. And he made the choice, my parents made the choice, I made the choice, and that's how our family life is what it is. So if you like this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to my channel for more such videos. It would please me to know and if this video reaches the people who need it the most, because that's why I make videos. That's why I made this video, because I wanted it to reach the person who had the question, how do you manage in the worst of situations? Because all of us have some difficult situations in our life, whether it is a disabled family member or whether it is something else. I think the same principles apply, and so I hope that it was helpful, and there will be more videos on this channel relating to my brother's legacy that continues. So it's a huge part of our life, and so I will be filming it soon. So subscribe to keep watching. See you next week.